going to be me making a hypothesis about the origin of the Puerto Rican people, an alternative history of what the racial makeup of the island of Puerto Rican is. So guys, take this with a grain of salt. This is just my hypothesis. This is just my idea. Of course, most people in school who go to school on the island, from what I understand, are told that most of the Taino people had been wiped out, and that it's hard to find people who are living descendants of them, which is an absolute this is the first absolute, complete, total, utter lie. It's a lie, because you can clearly see lots of people who are, descended from them living on the island currently, who have a great percentage of their DNA, and this is backed behind scientific studies that were done of people on the island, and they have Haplogroup C and they have Haplogroup A, which is associated with Native American people, and it's found on over 60% of the population of the island have this haplogroup. Okay, so this proposes an alternate hypothesis about Taino people, and the alternate hypothesis is that the majority of the people of Puerto Rico are not mulattoes or quadroons, like some people like to say. The majority of Puerto Ricans are mestizo or Afro-Mestizo, meaning that there are almost an equal amount of Native American as they are European or sometimes African as well, which is a theory to me which makes more sense, because I believe the Taino people were not killed. They had no reason to really be killed completely, as they were helping the Spanish. At a certain point, they were helping the Spanish as people working, doing manual labor in mines. There were people helping the Spanish with agriculture, so they had absolutely no reason to completely kill them. However, they intermarried with them, and they assimilated the Taino people into into Spanish culture. That's why there's no traceable, really, language left, besides for a couple of words in Puerto Rican Spanish. There's not much of the actual culture left, because so many of the women were assimilated. The native women were assimilated into Spanish culture. The ones that married the Spanish or Italian or Portuguese people who were on the island. So all you basically see currently nowadays, what you basically just see are a bunch of assimilated mestizos, right? On the island of Puerto Rico. They're just assimilated mestizos, And phenotypically, you can find a lot of people who look completely indigenous on Puerto Rico, in the island of Puerto Rico. You can find plenty of people who have the mestizo type of look, or have and I think people have this stereotype about, especially Latin Caribbeans have a stereotype about how indigenous people look like, because they're not used to seeing full-blooded indigenous people. And if you look at a lot of Puerto Ricans, they do look like indigenous people, to be honest. They have very Melanesian features, or Asiatic features. They have very small eyes. They have very big ears. If you ever see Central American or South American, Native Americans, they look very similar to those guys. But the thing is that they would never really see it, because I feel like people have a lot of fantasies about what they believe Arawaks look like. When Arawak or Indians they're still living in a lot of parts of the Caribbean, practicing their cultures and speaking their language. In Guyana, there's a large Arawak, community. They're called the Lapono, who are still living, who are still speaking their Arawakan language, who are still, practicing their culture, and they are full-blooded Arawaks or Taino, whatever you want to call it. It's all within the same racial family. They're all related to one another. So anyway, that just concludes my little intellectual rant.